Spoiler alert! Don't watch this until you see the movie.
Well, we can start by getting into spoilers.
He has a secret we don't even
Kit,
know.
let's talk about Dane Whitman. You know, it's all on the table. What was it, you know, about sort of his? We get a little bit of tease of who he is and his backstory. What was it that most interested you about, you know, him and sort of where he might go?
I spoke to Chloe before coming onto this movie, and also Nate, the producer, about who he is and where he might go and those sorts of things. I read up a bit about him and like some of the stuff in the comics about him, and I found that there could be possibly a future for him, which is sort of based around, I don't know, a superpower that's kind of surrounds the idea of addiction, which I found.
I mean, the
quite
end of the movie leaves you with a lot of questions, a lot of
Yeah,
possibilities.
I don't know. He's like, look, he's just a stand-up nice guy in this movie.
I don't.
That's all you need to know.
I don't buy it.
Stand-up, lovely, friendly, funny days.
I'll tell you why. Stay till all the credits are gone, which is, they're very long, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, there's an awesome
you'll get
scene.
extra hints.
Kid, do you remember how we first met?
Remind me.
So I just moved to London to sort of do prep for all
It was
this.
in Notting
and
Hill.
Right down the street,
Yeah.
we were trying out clothes, and I was like, oh, that's Kit Harrington. I've never met him, but we're about to do a movie together. So he came outside, and I was just like, Kit, and you have been so trained to like ignore anybody who's saying anything. And I was just like, what do I do? Do I walk away? This is weird. And I was like, no, I'm gonna say Kit until he looks at me. And then he looked, and I was like, hey, we're doing a movie together. And you were very, very nice, and you said, and I said, what's your character? And you said, I can't get away from swords. Because you have a magical sword now.
Yeah. But it was cool. Like the thing about him is, if you read up about him, his superpower is also his curse. Now, if that happens or not, we don't know. In this movie, Dane's just Dane, and stay to the end, and you might see something fun. But like my main sort of like regret is that I didn't get to work with any of you. Really, I got to work with Leah, which was fantastic and really and amazing, considering like your age at the time. Like I felt like I was with a much older actor, as other people have said. And I got to work with Gemma. And I got to work, it was like 5 minutes from my house, the whole movie.
I know, he walked to set. Most
It was
days he
literally
walked.
walking distance from
And
my
he would
house.
go home for lunch and just go hang out with his
We're
family
in
and come
Fuerteventura
back.
getting needles in our eyes.
That was the thing as well, my stuff was all at the end. So I came in at the read-through at the beginning when everyone looked fresh as a daisy. Came in at the end, everyone's like haggard.
Yeah, defeated.
Before we
Like you said, you can't forget the pain.
Why didn't you guys help fight Thanos? Or any war, all the other terrible things throughout history?
We were instructed not to interfere in any human conflicts unless deviants are involved.
By who?
And also, speaking of end credit sequences, there is a fantastic end credit sequence with the reveal of a new cast member played by Harry Styles. For those of you guys who were on set with him, what do you remember most from filming that?
I was very excited to meet him. I didn't know what to expect, but he was actually very sweet. We did shoot a scene that didn't make it into the movie all day long. All of us were there, right? It was
Yeah,
cool.
it's a scene that is not in the movie, but we were all there with him, and I gotta say that he's like that Mexican cousin that is always like crashes, and it's like distant cousin, but it's like, I am like so close to you in family. He arrived and he was just like part of us immediately, hanging out, like as if we know
He's
each
now
other
the Mexican cousin.
you know, that the least distant cousin that pretends it's your sister or your brother, and he came in and he was like one of us immediately, super lovely, super fun. Couple of parties, he would come, hang out, play the piano, sing with everyone, play with everyone. We love him. He's great.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It was so funny. I mean, because, you know, between all of us, the very first time that I actually learned that Harry was going to be joining us for this film, I was like, Harry? Who's Harry? What? I don't know who Harry is. And my baby sister was like a super fan of Harry, and I don't think she ever forgave me for that. You know, but of course now I definitely know who Harry is. And I do agree with what you were saying. He's such a lovely, kind person, and he still owes me a list of meditation songs, but he definitely believes in meditation, and and he told me how to meditate.
He was so sweet to you. We went to his concert, and he was signing a little bit to Lauren on the stage. It was so sweet.
Yes, exactly. I have to tell you something that actually happened while we were shooting. Yeah, I mean, he was so nice while we were shooting. Well, the scene that was taken out of this film, but this is because this isn't spoiling anything. But we shot a scene that involved Harry, and we were all sitting around in the Domo looking at Arishem with our eyes, and so we were supposed to close them, and then Chloe would say cut, and then every time she yelled cut, the interpreter would have to run around, tap me on the shoulder, and then after a couple times, Harry was just like, is it okay if I just tap you and cue you when we stop shooting? I was like, yeah, thank you. I mean, that's just who Harry is. He watches out and he just thinks about what can I do?
We have loved these people since the day we arrived. When you love something, you protect it.
And I want to say a spoiler.
Please do.
That I find very. I'm gonna do a
I think
spoiler.
it should just be a whole series on Selma on spoilers.
Yeah, no, because they gave me permission.
Good.
They said for this part.
Go for it.
No, but it's a very interesting one. It's about you.
Oh no.
No, I find one thing very interesting about Angie's character, Thena. She has a conflict where there's a moment where she gets an illness where she kind of goes crazy. And that's how we perceive it. But in reality, she's actually tapping into a very strong intuition that women have. And I find this incredibly deep because a lot of times women who have a different perspective, a different vision, a strong intuition that breaks through the fakeness of the world. The fakeness of the world that we all, and the hypocrisy that we all pretend it is. It's called crazy, and this has been happening through the entire history of the world. Angie understands this really well because she's been fighting for this her entire life. And I think this is a very unique conflict that we don't see enough in films. And it's not like, oh, it's a feminist moment. No, it's not like really subtle, but I find it absolutely fascinating, and the way she did it, because you read the script and you see the work of your friends afterwards, and it's very impressive. And I just want to say that that's something really interesting to look into and think about. It's one of those things that it's worth thinking about after you experience it in the film.
5 years ago, Thanos erased half of the population of the universe. But the people of this planet brought everyone back with a snap of a finger.
Yeah, Angelina, what was it that most interested you about sort of Thena's arc?
Well, I think like Selma, I didn't really see it as an arc as much as she does have what would be, I suppose, considered like a mental health. She struggles with her mental health, but I think to Selma's point, it's a question of what other people's maybe perception is of somebody being unhealthy mentally or imbalanced or labeled as somebody who's crazy, or
she's actually seeing the future.
She's actually trying to deal with something very real, and maybe sometimes all of that and the weight of that comes out in a way that isn't understood, and she does actually cross over and have times where she is struggling with her mental health, and I think that's interesting. And we talked about that as somebody who's a superhero, that you can be both. And there are a lot of soldiers with PTSD. There are a lot of people with PTSD. There's a lot of many strong, amazing people also struggle with their mental health. And to Selma's point, the reason that is or why that is doesn't mean they're broken. They're also sometimes just very, very open people.
I wanted to say something just about the movie, in regards to Icarus. I feel like Icarus actually represents the traditional idea of what a superhero is. And he's this, masculine man. He looks healthy. There's nothing wrong with him. He's perfect. Just like you were saying, he's a demigod, like Kit mentioned. And then we see him, I apologize, but he dies, and we see the death of that traditional idea of, you know, we see the introduction of not a perfect superhero. Just like with mental health, as you were mentioning, Angie, superheroes who are supposed to be vulnerable, soft. And that's what I love so much about this film, is I think that's what makes it, you know, a Chloe movie.
And also he self-destructs out of guilt because he's expected to be this macho, this hero, and he's just human. And his guilt, struggling between the two, makes him really devastated. But what I was going to say is that this mental health that we perceive as mental health, actually she's the only one that was seeing and perceiving the truth.
Yeah.
And because society says that's not the truth, that's not the truth, you're crazy, you're crazy, you're crazy. And sometimes people are not even crazy. You know, and they are stigmatized a lot of times.
What Lauren was saying, I thought it was really interesting you bring that up, because in some ways it's a very feminine superhero movie. In most superhero movies, the big battle is a bunch of punches and the physically stronger person wins. Here, the big confrontation, when Icarus goes to confront Circe, his eyes glow, it's gonna be a big battle. Instead, it cuts away to like a love montage. And when it comes back, he's defeated. So he doesn't, it's not strength that wins the battle, it's love. That's what this movie is about. It's about like dogma versus community, you know, duty versus love. And I think that moment when it sort of cuts away to their love thing, I like gasped. I couldn't breathe for a second. It was so beautiful and unexpected. And that's exactly, you know, exactly what you were saying.
I think we're at time, but I wanted to say thank you guys again so much for joining me. This has been such a lovely conversation.
Well, we didn't let you talk much, but
I am not the star here.
We had a fun talking.